Hello, hi, Mzansi. Welcome to yet another episode of Defense in Focus podcast, your go-to channel for informative, inspirational, and of course, inclusive information relating to the military. I'm your host, Major Evelyn Mashiani, and I'm yet again with Jonge Kaya. Of course, we are still delving into the military heritage, or rather, military history. Jonge Kaya, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here again to talk about very important aspects of our fighting military heritage.
You know what? There's a line that says, "Behind every ship lies sacrifice and, of course, service." And today, I want us to talk about one of them, which is the tragedy of the SS Mendi. Context. Take me there.
The context of the troopship Mendi and its fateful voyage into the English Channel on the 21st of February 1917. Where to start? Well, one can go back to the declaration of war in the First World War in 1914, and South Africa sided with Great Britain against Germany and its allies. And its contribution to this conflict was the provisioning of units for fighting at the front line, but for also supporting through logistical capacities. And South Africa made short and sharp work of concluding a campaign in German Southwest Africa, which is right next door to us, present-day Namibia, by defeating the German colonial forces which were there. Fast forward to a short campaign in Egypt and Libya by the 1st South African Infantry Brigade. They then moved on to the Western Front. The British really did need manpower at the front lines in order to prosecute its offensive campaigns against Germany and its allies, and as a result was searching all over its empire and from its allies for labor to be able to work in the dockyards in the United Kingdom and in France and in Belgium, where supplies were being landed. And as a result, in South Africa, they recruited from amongst the black population into what is known as the South African Native Labour Corps or Labour Contingent. And these contingents were dispatched from South Africa on ships far beyond the horizon to be landed in France and Belgium and assist in unpacking ships of coal and of foodstuffs and of ammunition and fuel destined for the front lines. And that is how we find ourselves at the story of the day.
As I understand you, these are non-combatants. These are normal men and women, if I should say, maybe you can correct me, that were taken from South Africa to go be laborers at France. Am I correct to say that?
That is correct. So during the First World War, the recruitment campaigns in South Africa were of a voluntary nature. One can always say that your employer or the representative from your community may volunteer you to lesser or greater extents, but it was predominantly men volunteering for service in the armed forces, in the Union Defence Force, which had been created only in 1912, after South Africa had become a union in 1910. So these laborers who joined the colors hoped to serve overseas, some for an adventure, others to provide for their families, but also political and cultural groups within the black population of South Africa saw this as a unique opportunity for the rights of non-whites in South Africa, dominated as it was at the time by the white minority, hopefully upon the cessation of the conflict. So by helping to realize victory, they may receive a return on investment for greater rights, perhaps to vote, perhaps for tenure of property, this especially after the passing of the Native Land Acts of 1913.
Native Land Act, what does it say? What was the law at the time, referring to what you just said now?
So because South Africa had a white minority government, especially so shortly after the end of the South African War, there was legislation enacted to say where and where not black South Africans or South Africans of color could and could not purchase property, and what kind of landed property they could own. So this volunteering for service in the conflict also carried a wider, greater ulterior motive of creating better representation for those people of color within South Africa.
It's such a sensitive, narration of the story, because it borders on the lines of your colorism and also the tribalism, if I should say that. But it's important to voice out such things, because in order for us to go into the future, we should be honest enough to know our past. Now, take me, Jack, to the parts where now the SS Mendy sinks now. What happened then?
So the SS Mendy had taken a long journey from Cape Town up north to the northern hemisphere, stopping in Lagos in present-day Nigeria to load and offload supplies, and it proceeded to Plymouth in England as part of the United Kingdom. It then embarked on its short journey from Plymouth to Le Havre, a French Channel port. And before it was able to reach its end destination with its over 800 members of the South African Native Labour Corps, mostly black, with some white officers and non-commissioned officers, it was struck in the early morning fog of 21 February 1917 by the mail ship SS Daro, which is purported not to have been sounding its horn in the fog and using its lamps to make itself more heard and visible to other vessels navigating through this inclement weather. And the troopship Mendy was sinking, and the men who had only moments before the ship being struck had been sleeping in their bunks, completely unaware of what was to happen moments later. And they rushed to their respective evacuation points on the vessel that they had drilled so long for during the voyage from Cape Town to the United Kingdom. And they would prepare to abandon ship.
I don't want to be silly, but I just want to ask, were they able to swim, these native black people that were in the ship? Is it written probably in the history that they were able to? Because I can just imagine sinking down deep into the water, and I don't have any kind of skill. It's just a question from my side.
It is well documented throughout time that in many navies and in many merchant marines, it is advantageous to swim, but so frequently members of navies do not swim before they join up, and do not gain that proficiency in the time of their service.
Yeah.
This was a case of people predominantly from the rural areas of South Africa answering the call to service, who were impressed into the South African Native Labour Corps. And one must also remember that this was February, in the beginning of the year, while the ravages of winter were still very prevalent. The English Channel is incredibly cold.
Yeah.
0 or sub-zero degrees Celsius temperature.
So the condition of the water was also
Yes,
probably
was
just
also
icy.
bad, defeating perhaps any advantageous swimming proficiency you may have. So these two ships that came to blow separated from each other, and unfortunately it is documented that the Darrow did not render assistance to these members of the Mendy's ship crew and the members of the Native Labour Corps who plunged into the water.
Let me get you right. The Darrow, or the SS Darrow, right?
That is correct.
Was it an own force type of ship as well, or was it just passing through I'm speaking to the point where you are referring to they could not help, meaning they died helplessly while they could have gotten help.
In the inquest which took place after the Mendi disaster, with the great death toll of over 600 South Africans, it was ascertained that the captain of the Darrow was negligent in not engaging in rescue efforts. And this can also, it be argued, put down to the fact that the German opposition did maintain submarines which were used to hunt and torpedo British and Allied supply ships, merchant vessels. So something can be said for the hesitation in this emergency situation to not render aid. But it does not take away from the fact that this event contributed to one of the most
Disastrous, if you must say.
disastrous events in South
Yeah.
African maritime history, not necessarily naval history, because it was a troop ship which was carrying South African personnel to the Western Front, and they died in great numbers as a result of these cold waters and a lack of assistance.
Now take me. There's a reverend on board, a chaplain of some sort, who now is there during the sinking of the SS Mendi. I know it's a momentous moment for you because we've shared this with me, and I know that you're going to tell me what the reverend has said just before the sinking of the SS Mendi, or rather when the whole thing was happening. Take me there.
So when the deck of the Mendi was listing as a result of the ship sinking, it is purported that the Reverend Isaac Dioba, a member of the Native Labour Corps and a minister amongst the various black troops drawn from across the country, drew his comrades together on the sinking deck of the ship and spoke to them and tried to galvanize them in this time of great stress and indeed distress. And it's very important for me as a serving member of the South African National Defence Force and the South African Army to serve in this uniform today because of the fact that my ancestor, a colour sergeant of the South African Native Labour Corps, was a member of the 5th Battalion C Company of that formation on board that vessel on that day, and that if he had not survived, I would not be here today.
Wow.
So the words by the minister Isaac Dioba is very close to my heart, and I always keep it close to my heart. And for the purposes of this discussion today, I would like to recite those words by Isaac Dioba, which I keep on a photograph that I have of
Am I allowed to touch that?
my great-grandfather.
I just want to show the screen. This is your grandfather.
This is my great-grandfather, a colour sergeant Fitzclarence Jarvis Fitzpatrick,
Wow.
my father's grandfather.
Wow.
And it is said in the narratives published in the aftermath of this disaster that black troops struggling to swim in the water were able, in one instance, to prop up a white NCO onto debris from the vessel in the water. And my great-grandfather suffered an injury during the South African War, which rendered him weaker, but not down and out.
Yeah.
And he always struggled to swim and struggled to breathe because of an injury to his lungs. And we like to believe that these black troops may have put this person who would have struggled to swim himself onto floating debris and thereby possibly saving his life.
Wow.
And therefore the words of Isaac Dioba that is carried by oral history, by word of mouth from generation to generation to us today, so much more meaningful. And if I may be so bold to read it, I will proceed.
You may.
Isaac Dioba said, "Be quiet and calm, my countrymen. For what is taking place now is exactly what you came to do. You are going to die, but that is what you came to do. Brothers, we are drilling the death dance, the death drill. I, Xhosa, say to you, you are my brothers. Swazis, Pondos, Basutos, we die like brothers. We are the sons of Africa. Raise your war cries, brothers, for though they made us leave our assechais in the kraal, our voices are left with our bodies. And this speaks directly to that notion that these members joined this unit to serve overseas in a logistical capacity in the Allied war effort, and they did not serve under arms, but they nevertheless served. And one must see it as incredibly important that just as an army marches on its stomach and prosecutes a campaign with ammunition in its weapons and in its war machines, these black South Africans, while deprived the ability to serve under arms in pursuit of liberty, equality, and fraternity, nevertheless did so. And many say, justifiably, that they came back to South Africa with these French revolutionary ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity that planted the seeds for future struggles against segregation and apartheid to come.
Wow, Jack, you just defined what it means to pay the ultimate price. And it becomes so warm for me to sit here with you while you share that. And you've got your great-grandfather, you said?
My great-grandfather, yes.
Who was part of this. It is so momentous, honestly. And I don't want to shy away from acknowledging and saying congratulations to your grandfather. At least you have the lineage of what it is to be a brave and also be a sacrificial man. You understand what I mean?
I do.
Wow. So let's get back to the commemoration, the 21st of February. What does it mean to all of us now as South Africans?
So up until 1994, we were not able to commemorate and remember the service and sacrifice by these members who died on the Mendi, but also who died on service in France and in Belgium and elsewhere on the African continent. The Native Labour Corps and contingents served proudly and accomplished a lot. With the first free and fair democratic elections in April 1994, we were able to give more credence and shine more light on important contributions to our country's military heritage. And we were able to have memorial services on the 21st of February each year, the way we do in July of each year for the Battle of Delville Wood, or in the week of 11 November to signify Armistice Day or Remembrance Day, where we all wear the red poppy. And it's fantastic that the South African government made a concerted effort to commemorate its soldiers presently serving and those who have served in the past by having Armed Forces Day coincide when it is carried out on the 21st of February each day. Well, each year.
Each year, you mean. Jack, honestly, any other information or parting words, I honestly have gotten so much out of you. I've literally sponged all the information I think I required to take out of you, especially on this particular episode, because for some reason it became a bit sensitive and emotional for me, but I didn't want to show it off here right now. Anything you want to say as your closing remarks?
The members of the South African public and the members of the armed forces need not look very far to see the residue of SS Mendi in our society. We have a ship of the South African Navy, a Valor-class frigate named SAS Mendi. Until its retirement, we had a strike craft named the SAS Isaac Dioba. That is incredibly important, okay. The Reverend of the ship. We have memorial services taking place around the country where there are Mendi memorials, specifically with the names of those who perished. There is a prominent memorial in the United Kingdom in Southampton, Hollybrook Cemetery, which the British government placed the names of all of those. And if you stand there, you as a South African citizen or as a member of the armed forces may see names that you recognize. You may even
Any
see
one of them that you've recognized before?
your own name that you recognize. We, yourself and myself, are members of the South African Army, the Pride of Lions.
Yeah.
You may see a name like that of Mbata,
Are you serious?
spelled differently to Lieutenant General Lawrence Khulekani Mbata, the Chief of the South
Wow.
African Army, but you are able to go to the Defence Force archives that are located here in Pretoria, where you can find the files of all of these members who perished on that tragic day. Those members lost their lives at sea, and they have no known resting place. So the last place that something of theirs rests is in our South African National Defence Force archives, where their signatures are affixed to their attestation and enlistment forms. So we can appreciate that we can visit something of them, the same as when we can visit a memorial service in February or July or November and pay our respects to them.
Yeah.
So that is the concerted effort by the South African government and its Department of Defense and South African National Defence Force to remember the fallen, and also to visit museums that are pushing to show that heritage. Visit the South African Naval Museum in Simonstown. Visit the South African National Museum of Military History in Johannesburg. Visit the Delville Wood Museum in France, where now a member of the South African Native Labour Corps has been interred in the center of that museum as a symbolic sense of bringing
Unity.
those who were separated from service by the color of their skin to be resting together in places of military heritage significance.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Jack, for this beautiful, beautiful, informative. Indeed, when we say we are informative, inspirational, and inclusive, this is exactly what we are referred to as the Defense in Focus podcast. From my side, I think this is it. I don't want to ask you anything so much. Thank you so much for being here.
Ndiyabulela Nkosi.
Jongekaya. And there you have it, ladies and gents. Subscribe, like, share, and this is the type of information we, as the podcast, or rather, Defense in Focus podcast, we wish for everybody to have and know. From my side, Major Evelyn Mashiani, it's a wrap.